Hey, today I was going to record another video, but something has gotten in my mind that I really want to address and talk about here. The focus on products to solve problems for the users. This is something that we have been talking about a lot with product management and with software development and product development. Something that is very important and something that is very key and something that everybody thinks that you had to start with the problem and then you had to go with the solution. And this is true. But the reality is that, especially if you think about B2B products, potentially also if you think about B2C products, so business to business or business to consumer, in reality, what you want to do is you want to help your customers succeed. You don't just want to necessarily solve a problem for them. And I'm not saying that you don't have to solve problems. Of course, you have to solve problems with your products. But the reality is that many times products don't solve problems on their own. And you have to do all the things sometimes to solve those problems. I think that the focus should be more in a kind of a product as a service of how your product really can solve that problem and serve that customer to actually be successful. Because the fact is that there are many companies that have been trying to tackle things like, for example, presentation tools. And there probably are much better presentation tools than PowerPoint and maybe even better tools than Excel to do different type of operations and tracking, I don't know, finances and so on. But the reality is that most of the companies still will use those ones because from the company point of view, if you think the company as a customer or the business as a customer for Microsoft in this case, they have a problem. And the problem is that they need a set of tools that is going to help them do all the office related work, back office related work. And in all honesty, it is kind of difficult to beat what Microsoft is offering with Office, unless if you compare it with Google Suite. There might be other offerings that offer that wide range, but when you start to look at things like Notion, which is great and I love and I would recommend everybody to use, then it doesn't offer all the things that Microsoft Office does. And this is why I think that sometimes it is true that Notion is solving a problem, but maybe it's not helping the customers succeed. And this doesn't, and I don't want to say that Notion is not gonna grow or is not gonna take over other things. I'm not saying that Notion necessarily has to take over Office, but I think that there are products, especially some of the established products, if they are helping the company succeed in some aspect, they're going to be very difficult to replace. So sometimes focusing on a very specific problem might be difficult then to maybe take over those ones. And you see then, of course, realistically what happens is always what happens with this curve of adoption of new products, where you can see that there's the new adopters, the early users, then there are the majorities and the late majorities and the laggards and so on. And it's true that you have that path. And the problem is that if you are a new product, you're trying to solve a problem, maybe a one problem, but you're going to have problems to help the company succeed unless your product is very different from the others. So I think that companies that are building products should focus more on the how can I help my customers succeed? And sometimes it's not just about your product. It might be also about how you create the knowledge and how you create the network and how you help the customers remove those problems that they have. Here, for example, I think that Tesla did a great job when they started with Tesla, with the cars, is that they didn't just think about the cars itself or themselves. The cars is the product, but then they also thought about the services that need to be around that product in order for it to make it work. The problem is that electric cars could not be very successful just on their own because recharging them was very difficult. What they came with, it was the supercharging network, something that other providers didn't even think about. And they just got into agreements maybe with governments and so on to start putting some, charging stations in different places, but the reality is that many places they were not working properly. Sometimes they were not working at all, sometimes they were really slow, and it was difficult to even figure out if they were free or not, because of course charging was taking quite a long time back then. It still takes quite a while nowadays. So I think that it's important that people and companies, when they are planning products, that they understand not just the problem that I'm solving, but also on how my product is going to help those customers succeed. I think that this is very important because then you are able not just to solve problems, but also making companies successful. And you can take this approach even if you're a small company, a company that is starting, that is only having one product that is solving one problem. But think about how can you really build an infrastructure around it, or the services, whatever you call it, that is going to help your customers adopting it. Because sometimes it is going to be the problems of understanding how my product or this product is going to plug into all the suite of products that I have in my company or that I'm using as a customer or consumer. So when you think about new products and the problems that your customers have, trying to understand what is the other problems that this customer might have once they take your product into use. Because once you figure that out, it might be that you can offer some extra service that is going to make your product and your offering that much more valuable. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel. If you like this topic, you might want to check this other video of the framework that Raoul Pal proposed to achieve success. I will see you in the next one, and remember, stay safe.